The Whispers of Malindi. A warm, humid breeze from the Indian Ocean carried the scent of frangipani and salt into the bustling market of Malindi. Our protagonist, Aisha, a young woman known for her devastating beauty and quiet ambition, moved through the stalls, her vibrant kanga shifting with grace. She wasn't just buying groceries, she was gathering intelligence. For years, she had lived under the shadow of her stepmother, Mama Zawadi, the village's unofficial healer and matriarch, a woman who wielded influence like a carefully sharpened machete. Mama Zawadi was known for her curses and blessings, often conveniently falling upon anyone who challenged her control. The village, steeped in tradition, always muttered, "It is the God's will." Aisha, however, had watched and learned. She knew the gods were just a convenient excuse for human malice. Today, Aisha sought out the old herbalist, Wana Musa, under the guise of needing a tonic. She needed to confirm a very specific, very scandalous rumor about Mama Zawadi's actual healing methods, methods that require no supernatural aid, only manipulation. The plot she was weaving was about to unravel Mama Zawadi's carefully crafted divinity and free the village and herself from her tyrant's grip. She purchased the harmless tonic, a sly smile touching her lips. The game had begun. The secret ingredient, Bwana Musa, eyes dimmed with age but sharp with wisdom, had confirmed Aisha's suspicions. Mama Zawadi's most potent curse, which had caused local councilor Mazel Juma to suddenly develop a paralyzing fear of fire, wasn't divine wrath. It was a rare, untraceable extract from the Marabayan tree, specifically prepared to induce psychosomatic terror when combined with a certain powerful suggestion. Mama Zawadi used fear, not faith, to rule. Now, Aisha had the knowledge, but she needed proof, tangible evidence that would shatter the facade of piety. The annual harvest festival, 3 days away, was her deadline. Mama Zawadi was scheduled to perform a cleansing ritual on the most cursed member of the community, which this year happened to be Aisha's younger, sickly cousin, Pili. Aisha knew this wasn't about cleansing. It was a public display of power designed to keep everyone in line. She needed to access Mama Zawadi's locked storage hut, where the precious and dangerous herbs were kept. Sneaking in during daylight was impossible. At night, the hut was guarded by the fearsome watchdogs. Aisha decided on a bold, risky plan. Use the distraction of the midday prayer call, a time when even the most vigilant relaxed, to execute her move. The secret ingredient of Mama Zawadi's dark power was about to become the key to her downfall. The midday gambit. The rhythmic call to prayer echoed over the terracotta rooftops, bringing a momentary stillness to Malindi. Aisha moved swiftly toward Mama Zawadi's compound, her heart hammering against her ribs like an insistent drum. The watchdogs were lethargic under the intense equatorial sun, one asleep by the gate, the other momentarily distracted by a scrap of meat Aisha had strategically thrown into the neighbor's yard earlier. The storage hut had a simple, heavy iron lock. Aisha didn't need a key. She had a special piece of wire she'd pilfered from a broken bicycle in the market. Years of observation had taught her Mama Zawadi's routines, including a nervous habit of leaving the lock's tumbler slightly worn. She worked quickly, her fingers nimble and steady, praying the wire would hold. A satisfying click signaled success. Inside, the hut was a claustrophobic maze of hanging dried roots, pungent powders, and jars filled with strange liquids. She scanned the shelves until she found the labeled jar, Mungu's Wrath. The jar contained the neem extract. Aisha carefully poured a small sample into a tiny prepared vial, replacing the jar precisely as she'd found it. Just as she was about to leave, she noticed a small, folded piece of parchment tucked beneath a pestle. Curiosity overcoming caution, she unfolded it, and her breath caught. It wasn't a spell. It was a deed of land ownership, signed and notarized, transferring the lucrative local fishing rights to Mama Zawadi after the sudden curse that had befallen the previous owner, Mzee Juma. The betrayal, Aisha reread the land deed, her initial shock morphing into cold, hard certainty. Mama Zawadi wasn't just a controlling matriarch. She was a calculated criminal using superstition to secure financial gain. The plot had just grown significantly juicier and far more scandalous. It wasn't about maintaining respect. It was about outright theft. The gods, indeed, had nothing to do with it. She slipped the deed and the vial into the secret pocket of her kanga. Now she had proof of both the medical scam and the financial conspiracy. The two pieces of evidence were devastating on their own, but together they would completely discredit Mama Zawadi and free the villagers from her manipulative hold. As she relocked the iron clasp, she heard a sound, not the dog's, but a quiet cough from behind the adjacent washroom. Kilonzo, the handsome fisherman she had been secretly courting, emerged, his face pale with alarm. "Aisha, what are you doing here?" he whispered, his eyes wide with fear and confusion. He had seen her leave the hut. Aisha's mind raced. Kilonzo was trusted by Mama Zawadi, who regularly bought his best catches. She had to decide instantly whether to trust him or lie. She chose a partial truth, hoping to secure an ally. She showed him the land deed, explaining only that Mama Zawadi was defrauding the community. His silence was deafening. The unveiling. Kilonzo stared at the deed, the names and notary stamps clear. His family had been fishermen for generations, and the fishing rights were a constant source of tension. He looked at Aisha, his conflict evident. He was loyal to the village, but terrified of Mama Zawadi's alleged power. He finally spoke, his voice barely a breath. "If she finds out, she will destroy you. She claims her powers are connected to Pili's life force." Aisha smiled, a genuine, confident smile this time. "That is the story. The gods protect those who do right, Kalonzo, but I will not leave the village to suffer her will any longer." She showed him the vial. "This is what destroyed Mzee Juma's peace, not a curse. It's a drug. I plan to switch her blessing tonic for Pili at the festival with a real, safe one. The deed will be the backup." Kilonzo was convinced not by her words, but by the sheer audacity and clear danger of her mission. He swore to help, promising to distract the main guards during the ritual. But as he turned to leave, his face hardened, and he gripped Aisha's arm suddenly, his touch surprisingly rough. "You won't believe what else I know about her," he muttered, looking over his shoulder nervously. "It's about your mother." Aisha froze. Her own mother had supposedly died giving birth to her, an event Mama Zawadi always cited as a sign of her unlucky existence. The dark family secret. Kilonzo pulled Aisha into the relative anonymity of the mango grove. He revealed the scandalous truth. Aisha's mother hadn't died in childbirth. She had been exiled from the village by Mama Zawadi 20 years ago, branded a witch because she had threatened to expose Mama Zawadi's initial small-scale scams, petty theft disguised as divine tests. Mama Zawadi, desperate to keep her reputation intact, had forced Aisha's father to choose, and he, weak-willed and fearful, had chosen his reputation and his new wife's, Mama Zawadi's, divine protection. He had let Mama Zawadi spread the lie of a fatal childbirth, ensuring Aisha was raised under her manipulative thumb. Aisha's mother was, in fact, living only 2 hours away in Mombasa, under a new identity. The betrayal was staggering. Mama Zawadi had stolen her childhood, her parentage, and her peace. Her current goal was no longer just about justice for the village. It was now deeply personal. Her own life was a lie carefully constructed by the woman she was about to expose. Kalonzo explained that he knew this because his late father had been Mama Zawadi's most trusted confidant and had regretted his silence on his deathbed. Aisha felt a cold, exhilarating rage, but gods were not to be blamed for her mother's fate, only a selfish, cruel woman. The festival was tomorrow. The Harvest Festival. The festival was a vibrant spectacle of color, music, and anticipation. Dancers in traditional regalia moved in rhythmic syncopation, and the air was thick with the scent of roasted meat and incense. Mama Zawadi, magnificent in ceremonial robes, stood on a raised dais, her presence commanding. Pili, looking pale and fragile, was brought forward for the cleansing. Mama Zawadi began her dramatic chant, culminating in the preparation of the sacred tonic, a thick, dark liquid. Aisha watched from the edge of the crowd. Kilonzo, feigning a sudden illness, had created a timely distraction near the food stalls, drawing the attention of the guards. This was Aisha's moment. She moved, her heart beating the rhythm of the ceremonial drums. As Mama Zawadi turned to the crowd, raising her hands for the final blessing, Aisha slipped forward, bumping the table accidentally. The tonic jar wobbled. In that instant, she executed the switch, replacing Mama Zawadi's prepared jar containing the dangerous substance with her own identical one, containing a harmless, nourishing herbal drink. Mama Zawadi didn't even notice. She turned back, triumphantly poured the liquid, and forced Pili to drink. Pili, instead of falling into a terrifying seizure, the true purpose of the ritual, simply coughed and appeared better. The crowd murmured. The ritual was a dud. The blameless gods. The villagers looked confused, then disappointed. Mama Zawadi, her face a mask of furious concentration, tried to restart the ritual, but the moment had passed. Aisha saw her opening. She stepped forward, holding the two pieces of evidence high above her head. "The gods are not to be blamed for this failure, Mama Zawadi," she shouted, her voice ringing out in the sudden silence. "They are not to be blamed from Zed Juma's fear, or for Pili's sickness, or for the fate of my mother. Only you are." She first revealed the land deed, showing the calculated theft of the fishing rights that was disguised as a curse. The crowd gasped, recognizing the signature. Then she revealed the vial, and Bwana Musa, who, emboldened by the truth, stepped forward to confirm that the original tonic was a dangerous, fear-inducing drug. As the villagers surged forward, shouting in anger and betrayal, demanding justice for the years of manipulation, Mama Zawadi's imposing presence crumbled. Her power was entirely human, built on fear and lies, and now it was exposed. Aisha's goal was achieved. The community was free from the tyranny of fake divinity, and she herself was free of her stepmother's manipulative control. A final, crucial step. She would now travel to Mombasa to meet her mother, a reunion made possible because she dared to look past superstition and see the human malice beneath. The gods were blameless, but Aisha had found her justice in the truth.